really, I think the takeaway from this is if you feel yourself coming up against a block, ask your body if it's actually wanting you to push through on the current trajectory, or if this is just a sign that it wants you to shift into one of the other processes for a while. And then you'll hit another block and then you shift into another one of the process. And it's just this like ongoing, a month writing, a month. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Write with Chloe podcast. If this is your first episode, welcome. And if you've been with me for a few by now, I hope you've been enjoying them. It's been really cool to offer you guys a bit more in-depth and high value, information, because sometimes Instagram can be a little bit limited, right? So yeah, I'm so honored that you're choosing to spend this time listening to my work. So today's topic is we're going to break down the 6 processes that are actually involved in writing a book. So a lot of people talk about writing, a few people talk about editing, and then that's almost all that I hear, really, right? And actually, now that I'm thinking out loud, you could almost say there's 7 processes. So let me just add a note to talk about that 7th one real quick. Okay. So, we have a puppy, so cute. A dog down here. Okay, so the first process is writing. So this is pretty self-explanatory, writing a first draft. For me, when I teach writing as a portal to authenticity, vulnerability, moving through and shifting shame, essentially healing, really. And I teach that writing comes from the body or intuition, and that it's done in a feminine or receptive state, i.e. you don't intellectually choose what your book is going to be about. You receive it from wherever, above, within, whatever your beliefs are, and then you make the decision to accept that, surrender into that, and write what your body wants you to write, even when it doesn't line up with what your brain thought you were going to write. And actually, in my experience, this is how we get really nuanced work, by deciding to listen to the body instead of the brain. If this is a little bit abstract for you, I have a membership called Write from the Heart. We're doing a free 7-day trial at the moment. I'll pop the link below and you can use the code Chloe, like CHLOE, at the checkout, and you can get a week for free. And we gather every Wednesday together online via Zoom, and we just write and talk about what it means to write from the body. And I give you guys prompts, and there's some hot seat coaching, a little bit of optional sharing, and then there's a whole library of over 30 videos about how to write and develop a consistent routine. So check out the link for that below. But that's the first process, writing a first draft. Now, anything after that, so anytime you've made even a small change to that first draft, we're then shifting into the second process, and that is editing. Now, editing is done from the head, or it's that masculine energy, it's that doing energy, it's the intellect, thinking, deciding, controlling, right? As opposed to that kind of receiving yin energy. And I've got a whole episode that you can check out where I go through my 4-step editing process that will clean up 95% of the issues in your writing. I promise you, I've been teaching writing for a long time, hundreds of students. It works. So if you haven't already, go and check out that episode called My 4-Step Editing Process. Editing has basically 4 different steps: identifying the heart of a scene, doing a time edit, doing a 40-40-20 edit, which is identifying internal, external setting, making sure you've got the right percentage of each, and then specificity. All right, so 4 steps. I'm not going to go into great detail about them because, like I said, there's a whole long episode covering that. And then if you want support for editing, my 5-month program called Write from the Body, Edit from the Head offers you exactly that. You get put in a group capped at 6 people, and then we meet online every fortnight. You bring a piece of your writing to me and I give you 20 minutes of one-on-one attention and detailed written and verbal feedback about your editing skills. And then you get to witness the other 5 members in the group also do that. So there's a lot of learning on different levels. So yeah, the second step is editing. Now the third step, but I want to say these steps aren't necessarily sequential, right? People do them in all different orders, but they are eventually doing all of them. I just sort of choose an order that kind of makes sense, right? Third one is structuring. Now there's 3 different levels to structuring. There's macro structure, which is at a book level, right? So how is your whole book structured? What are the timelines? What is the chronology? All of that stuff. Then there's a mid-level, and so that's at a chapter level. So what is the order of the scenes within each chapter? And then there's the micro level, and that is within a single scene. So how are you ordering the events within a single interaction or scene? And structuring is interesting because part of it, so often macro will be done from the body or intuition. And then it does vary, to be honest. And mid can sort of be done from either intuition and body or head and intellect. And then that micro level is usually always done from intellect, right? So structure is one of the processes that sort of shifts between, unlike most of the others, but yeah, shifts between requiring intuition versus intellect. And actually I've got a free resource somewhere. I might get my assistant to put the link down below, but it goes through, I'm just doing a one-on-one structural session with someone, and there's a recording of it that you can watch. And you can see like the video, and we're sharing the screen and all that. The fourth process is research/input. So writing is output, right? You're externalizing, expressing, producing, creating, building, whatever. But you also need input. So this can be anything like podcasts, books, social media, conversations with friends, therapy sessions, massive array of things. But whatever it is you're writing about, you also need to be getting input from various sources, so you start to complexify your understanding, even when you're writing fiction or memoir, right? Then the fifth one is admin and organization. And there's a few different threads to this. Sometimes it's about organizing your laptop, like desktop, and making sure all your writing and Word documents are organized properly so that, you know, when you're writing, you can just be focused on writing and you're not getting distracted. It can also be things like using the writing software Scrivener to like do structural edits on your book. But it can also be things like how you're organizing your writing time, how you're setting boundaries and all that kind of stuff. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail or specifics with this episode because I've got longer episodes where I go into great detail about all of these processes. Today, I just kind of wanted to let you see a kind of overview of what are the 6 or 7 processes that you are going to end up moving between as you're writing. This is important for me because what I notice with myself and sometimes students is that sometimes we'll be working in one of these modes, right? Writing or editing or researching, whatever it is. And there's momentum. And then all of a sudden it's like we hit a wall. We just hit a wall. And it's like, oh, I knew where I was going and suddenly I feel like I have no direction. In my experience, what that typically means is not that you've done something wrong and that you need to push through, but that you've actually done something right and you've finished the current level of that process, and it's actually time to now jump into a different process. So for example, maybe you were writing with the momentum, writing, and then suddenly you hit a brick wall. Well, maybe that's a sign your body wants you to go into editing mode. So things like that. So this is why I wanted to do this episode. Then the 6th is workshopping or getting feedback on your writing. And this is the key, from someone who has done what you are trying to achieve before, i.e. a published author. Feedback from your mom doesn't quite count, right? It's like, let's say I want to train to become like a boxing fighter. Am I going to get feedback from my mom who's never thrown a punch in her life? No. But so many beginner writers do exactly that. They go and get feedback from someone because they feel safe and they love them, but the person has no skill And often the feedback they're giving them is just reinforcing cliche. That's the biggest thing. They're getting feedback that is reinforcing cliche and is actually like decreasing the quality of their work. So get feedback of someone that has done what it is you were trying to do before, and you're going to cut years off your writing apprenticeship, I promise you. And then the last one, number 7, is the business of being a writer. So this might not be relevant to you right now if you're just starting out, but eventually you're going to need to think of yourself almost as a small business. And so you're going to have to think about things like social media presence, direction for your career, organizing how payments are going to go in and out for your writing, filing tax for your writing, all that kind of stuff. It's probably not an immediate concern, but at some point you need to also think about the business of writing. It's okay if you're not expecting to, earn your living from writing. That's fine. But there's still a level of professionalism that, you need to create around your work if you're going to have a career in writing. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to keep it a little bit short rather than going into too much detail. But like I said, just to repeat, really, I think the takeaway from this is if you feel yourself coming up against a block, ask your body if it's actually wanting you to push through on the current trajectory, or if this is just a sign that it wants you to shift into one of the other processes for a while. And then you'll hit another block and then you shift into another one of the process. And it's just this like ongoing, a month writing, a month editing, a month writing, a month doing research, a week doing organization, 2 weeks writing. Like that's normal, right? And so you need to learn how to be fluid and intuitive in your movement, not intellectual, intuitive in your movement between these processes. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I would love you to write a review if this was helpful or if you've benefited from my teachings in any way, or you can subscribe or whatever it is, give a rating depending on where you're listening to this episode, or you could share it on your social media or even send the link to whoever, someone that you know is interested in writing. I put a lot of effort into producing high quality content for you guys, and I would really appreciate if you could help share that out a bit widely. All right, until next time, sending love. Hey guys, so many people come to me after having written a first draft, but end up having to throw out everything they've written because there's no depth or psychological nuance in the work. My program, Write from the Body, Edit from the Head, is a 5-month journey to teach you everything you need to know right from the beginning all the way through to finishing a full first draft. It's broken into 2 sections. First, I teach you how to write from the body or soul or intuition, which is how we get that beautiful complexity, nuance, and depth on the page. And then I teach you my 3-step editing process that if you do on repeat to every piece of your work will clean up 90% of all issues I see with people's writing. So it's a 5-month program. It's a small group container, so you get a lot of individualized support, and then you've got accountability to stay consistent for that whole time and finish a first draft. If you would like to know more information about joining, you can send me a message on Instagram and let's have a chat.